Roadie Tuesday. How we doing, folks? This is my first speaking video. I'm going to try to do it without restarting or anything like that, so bear with me. It's my first time kind of trying to fluently talk through the whole thing. I figured since it's my first official talking video, I would start with kind of origins as my theme. Just start drawing here and get me started. So I could say the origins of me drawing were probably from my oldest sister Kathy, when I think I was about 7 years old. My oldest sister Kathy was a really good drawer, and she used to draw with me when I was like 7. We started drawing together. She used to like drawing pictures from a magazine. She'd take like something from what is it, Cosmopolitan, or one of, you know, the teen female magazines at the time, and draw models and stuff like that, and I'd draw beside her, and I'd draw whatever I was drawing. I don't know what it was at the time, but eventually I started drawing a lot, and eventually started staying with it. I don't really know, how often I drew as a kid, but I did draw enough to keep me interested for life. So I have some notebooks from my teens, but I can't really say how much I was drawing before that. But yeah, my oldest sister Kathy is the one that got me into it. And let's see here. I remember, when I was younger, I used to get into, I got into a bunch of strange things. I got into like ninjas in the 80s. And then I remember I used to draw a lot of pictures of ninjas. And that was before ninjas became popular with like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There was a couple of bad ninja movies in the 80s that kind of made ninjas really popular, and I got really into those movies. And then there was magazines that you could get. It was hard to find, but I'd find these ninja magazines, and I remember I'd draw pictures of some of the coolest stuff and hang them on my wall. And then eventually I got into Fangoria magazine. My buddy Pete and I just went last night to see the re-release of Hellraiser. There was a point where, we were into all the horror stuff, and at some point I was drawing, Jason and Freddy Krueger and things like that. I remember being a big fan of The Thing. I was a big fan of John Carpenter, and I remember drawing a lot of cool stuff that had to do with that. I don't think I was into Iron Maiden until much later, but I think I was aware of the artwork, and I remember drawing versions of not Eddie, but you know, zombie type creatures and things like that. And I was always into kind of simplified. I was always kind of a minimalist, you might say. I always just kind of drew one item on a page. I didn't enjoy doing backgrounds and things like that as much. And I don't know what that is, but it kind of still holds true to this day. But yeah, so I kind of drew through high school, and it's strange looking back because I had all my friends were artistic in nature, but I grew up in like a kind of a blue collar town. It wasn't exactly blue collar. It was, you know, it was kind of like almost an island that had like two roads going in and out, but you know, there was like five yacht clubs, so it wasn't like not exactly blue collar, but it was kind of a blue collar mentality. And art was not, you know, not that there wasn't any art in town, but like it wasn't the most flourishing area for arts and that sort of thing. But it is interesting. I had all my friends were artistic in nature, but we never really got together and did art as a thing. We always just like hung out. We just did other thing, you know. Through high school, we ended up, you know, partying and stuff like that. But it's strange that we never got together and did, you know, and said that, let's all draw, you know. You know, no one had that as an idea. So, but eventually, one of my friends was this kid Eric, and he was voted in our yearbook. He was voted best, best artist. He was a really good artist, and at some point, he decided he was gonna go to college for graphic design or art or whatever. And so, you know, he was getting, you know, I was talking to him at whatever time that you would do that, probably junior year. And he, you know, mentioned that he was doing that. And prior to that, I didn't even have an inkling of, you know, college or anything. You know, and it hadn't even crossed my mind. So he said he was going in, and then I was like, oh, that's a thing, huh? I should probably start thinking about that. And then that kind of got me into, you know, looking into colleges and looking into like, you know, what I could go for. I think at the time, I was getting into writing. I was writing stories. And I think I wanted to go to college to become an author. I had started writing horror stories. So I think even though Eric was going for art, I think I was going to go, yeah. I went in thinking I was going to go in for an English major and then, you know, become an author. So I ended up signing up for college and going, and it was, I think, you know, by about 2 years in, I the classes that I had taken in English were pretty terrible. There was, one was pretty much just telling you of all the atrocities of, in America. It was the first time I learned about the internment camps, Japanese internment camps. We learned about that, and then I had a class that was all about the Canterbury Tales. We had to learn some ancient English language that it isn't even around anymore. We had to learn that so we could read this book that was of no interest to me. So I think at some point I was like, this is not for me. So I ended up changing majors to graphic design, and that ended up so I stayed an extra year in college. To get my degree in graphic design. But I think the thinking behind that was a graphic design is like a, something artistic that you could get paid for in the business world. But the things that I was drawing at that point were pretty far out there, and looking back, if I had just kind of well, it's tough because I don't even know how I could have pursued doing the weird shit I was drawing, or doing that sort of thing, but there wasn't necessarily an avenue for that at the time, but I probably could have noted that graphic design was not the best thing suited for my art style. But I did go into it anyways, and I eventually got a job in graphic design, and then I eventually found a job. I found a couple of jobs to start at newspapers, the basic stuff, and got fired from a couple of them for just not being great when I first started. Eventually I caught on, and I definitely got better at it, and ended up landing a pretty sweet job on Newbury Street in Boston at a British clothing store in the corporate office, and doing their graphic design, and that kind of got my foot in the door and got me going. But yeah, it was interesting that most of my friends had some sort of artistic leaning. Some of them were really good at drawing. One was really good at drums. But yeah, no one really ended up pursuing anything artistic related. I had a buddy that was good at whittling, carving into wood. My family was very supportive. Obviously my sister taught me how to draw. My other sister, always gave me good feedback, and always praised, my drawings and stuff like that when I'd show him the weirdo things that I was drawing. um, my brother was in the National Guard, and eventually he became a recruiter, and he had me draw a mural on his office wall at some point. My father was an accountant, and I don't think he got it at all. But he'd be kind of like doing his thing in the kitchen, and I'd be in the kitchen drawing and listening to heavy metal or Rage Against the Machine or some crazy music, and he'd just kind of like be making his tea and be cool with the nonsense that I was listening to. He used to listen to Louis Armstrong. I think when he was younger, which was probably he used to love the big band, all the trumpet players, which believe it or not was probably the metal of its time. And then my mom was very enthusiastic. Just in general, she used to say that you can do anything you want. Dream big. And kind of gave me a real sense of confidence, just through life, I think. And we always had like a guitar in the house, but it was always beat up, and we never had like a great. It was never a great instrument. We had a piano in the parlor, not in the parlor, but in the front hallway, and fiddle around with that. But but she always said, "You could do it," things like that. And so I had a lot of encouragement. There was definitely teachers that had noted that I had talents in a couple of different areas, but so it was good to have that, going up. But I was definitely a little slow to the graphics thing. I went to college for graphics, but it was even in the classes. I think I was slow picking up graphic design, and it was a couple of years into the field before I kind of even knew what I was doing. I kind of learned, even though I got my degree. It's probably the case for everyone a little bit, but I think it was more so with me. It was I was a little slow in the learning process of graphic design and using Photoshop, just kind of doing collages in Photoshop, blending things together, that sort of thing. There was definitely some more talented graphic designers when I watched other people working, But all through the years, I've kind of done my own thing in my free time, and that's kind of what brings me the most joy, is doing the stuff that doesn't, it doesn't necessarily, I start the stuff out, and I just start drawing, and see what comes. And that's kind of what brings me the most joy when working artistically. Sometimes I get an idea and I have to work on the idea, and I'll have a dream, or something will come to me and we'll say, "Oh, I like that idea." I'll kind of have to pursue it. But this here is kind of my favorite. Just doing, some of my friends would, call it, spikes and skulls, or there was some point, I think they said, all your drawings have spikes and TVs or something like that. I used to like drawing TVs at a certain point. But I've had an idea to draw a little child holding a string to a balloon, and then the balloon floating had this vicious monster mouth. It was very threatening, and I think I've drawn 2 or 3 renderings of that, and I can't get it the way I truly want it. So sometimes they come quicker than others. But that's it's kind of a different animal than what I'm doing here. This, I just kind of go with the flow as it comes. I fill up the page with, there's a certain, what do they call that? The golden ratio. Like when I draw the vines, there has to be a certain gradation to them that looks beautiful to me. And if it doesn't go with the right gradation, it doesn't seem appealing to me. And I don't know what that is, but so I had been in graphic design for a number of years. I had a couple of jobs. And it was getting frustrating. I didn't, I didn't end up going to anywhere like in advertising or anything like that, like fun and exciting graphic positions. But I found out, I found myself at a couple of, random places, but I was doing graphics for, it was probably like 15 years or something like that. And, I had I got married and had kids, and so I had gotten caught up in actual life, I guess. And I had a career in graphics and all that fun stuff. And I was busy raising kids and being a husband, and but eventually one day I found myself that I wasn't enjoying myself. The job doing graphics wasn't fulfilling my need for creativity, and that's kind of a thing that's always in you as an artist. And so life was kind of getting dull to a certain degree. Um, and then one year I decided I was going to do, I had gotten away. I never, I was doing like graphics during the day, but I considered that was, my artistic thing. And I wasn't doing anything when I got home. And then, I kind of missed drawing and, drawing things that I had drawn before. And I says, I gotta start doing this again. So at some point I said, I'm gonna do a drawing a day for an entire year. So I think it was like January 10th that I started it in 2010. And I just started doing it. And that kind of brought me back to life as an artist. We married with kids. It's not easy because you have a lot of obligations to do. So you kind of had to squeeze it in wherever you could. But if you were in that same position, you might not think there's any time. But you can always find time if you. If you take an account of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, there's usually, 2 or 3 hours of TV watching that you don't think much of, but it takes up a lot of time where you can do better things. So what happened is I ended up drawing a day for a year, and and a lot of it, certainly the first couple of ones, I think the very first one, I liked, and that kind of got me inspired to keep going, and but eventually I ended up having some really cool pictures that came out of that. I don't want to say 30% were good, but it was probably 30% of them that I liked, but there was definitely some really good pictures that came out of that ended up really lighting the spark again, and I've been drawing ever since 2010. Certainly not every day, but I go through waves, but I've always managed to get it in here and there. The following year, I ended up picking up the guitar and trying to write, what did I do, 52 songs? I said I was going to do a song a week for a year. And that got me into guitar and writing music. And I don't think I made it through the entire year, but I ended up writing like 30 songs or something like that. And the same thing with that, like, a lot of that was garbage. But I ended up getting like, probably like 4 or 5 good songs that I liked out of that, and ended up writing an album. And I still play music to this day too. So I keep myself very busy artistically these days. So this is kind of a new phase that I'm in. I recently started doing this YouTube channel thing. I've always had a YouTube channel, but I'm I'm trying to do these drawings now, and just keep at it and see if, see if I can do anything with this. I'm a technical illustrator in the day, but obviously, I'm not drawing spikes and skulls. It's not as rewarding. But I'm going to try to keep at this and posting these type of videos and see if I can get it to grow. So I think I'm going to call this a day with this. Just call this some sort of plant. I don't know. But if I was to depart with a message from this, I would say that if you have a dream, if you have life that's happening, you have a lot of things going on. One of the things you can do is just, you got to work your 9 to 5 or whatever, do your job, and you definitely get family obligations or whatever else. Definitely try to pretend this is like a part-time job and just do your thing, and make time for it, and make room for that in your life. And because I did notice that once I started drawing again, like my spirit came back. Like I remember when I wasn't drawing and stuff, I'd be watching TV, and after the Super Bowl, it would be like there'd be like a couple of weeks in February where there was like nothing on, there was no sports, and then like TV was the thing that you looked forward to. It was like provided, it's provided by a network, and it's not really like what you should be looking forward to. Like if you have something that you do, like an art form, or it doesn't even necessarily have to be art, but if it's something that you're into, if you do that on a weekly basis, you find time for it and do the thing that you enjoy, and over a short amount of time, you'll find your spirit kind of like you're looking forward to the the thing that you're into, rather than just trying to find a good show on Netflix or things like that. Like, do what you want to do. Don't get it. Don't have all your pleasure supplied by TV and scrolling, things like that, because it sucks up all your time if you let it, and it's hard to pull away from all that stuff. I've had to go through patches of that too, where I kind of I eventually had to delete. I got wrapped up in Facebook for a while, and you have to kind of step away from that any way you can, because that'll take up so much time. So I'm gonna call it a day on this drawing. I think it's a little difficult drawing and talking at the same time. So, but we'll call this a drawing. So there you have it. If you can make it through this and you listen all the way through, thank you. And I appreciate your attention, and I hope to make another one. I'll talk to you later. Bye.